Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Tanisha's Reading Corner podcast. I am your host, Tanisha. Tanisha's Reading podcast is dedicated to anyone who desires to make reading a daily habit as a form of self-care. To stay updated when a new podcast is uploaded, please subscribe to the channel. In addition, you can find me on Instagram at Tanisha's Reading Corner for many book recommendations and tips and tricks on how to keep reading a daily habit. Let's dive into today's episode. All right, so welcome back to another episode of Tanisha's Reading Corner podcast. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button, share with family and friends, help grow the podcast. All right, so we are starting this week off with a weekday challenge. I decided to move these to Monday and just keep the podcast episodes for Monday, the weekday challenge, and then Wednesdays will be our regular full episode. I decided to do this because weekend is kind of a given, particularly for book lovers like ourselves. I'm talking about you listening and all your friends and whatnot, and me. You know, weekends are the easier times for us to get a book out and read because typically some of us have the day off, not all, but just some. And so I just felt like it's really the hardest. I know just for me, and I know just actually research shows as well, it's hardest to read during the week because, things happen, school, if you're in school, or careers and whatnot. It can be difficult to find those moments to read, but as book lovers who are reading as a daily habit or as a form of self-care, it is crucial that we take that time, find that time to read. So, speaking of time, that is what this challenge is going to be for this week. So, this week's weekday challenge is to increase the number of minutes that you're reading. So, whatever amount you typically read, add 15 minutes more to it. Now, a research study has shown that reading at least 30 minutes a day have increased health benefits, like improved focus, better sleep. And actually, for more details on all the benefits of reading, have a listen to another episode called The Top 10 Benefits of Reading Daily. It's of this podcast after you listen to this episode, of course. So, at least 30 minutes. So, here's the challenge again. Read at least 30 minutes a day for this week. And if you're already doing that, then just add an additional 15 minutes to whatever it is you're reading on average. Increasing what I have found, and increasing the now, whenever you increase any amount to what you're already doing, you're more likely to do it. Hear me out. It's a reverse psychology type of thing, if you will. Not to get too deep into this, but if you know that you have this big number that you need to accomplish, you're more likely to do it because it's like, okay, that's a goal. I'm going to accomplish that goal. Even if you don't hit it, it's still more than what you used to do. Case in point, my goal this week is to try and read at least an hour a day. And I actually did this challenge before. And what I found was finding those moments in my day when I can actually read. Like, normally I always read at night before I go to sleep. But then I found myself reading a little bit in the morning. I found myself reading during my walks, listening to an audiobook. And yes, should audiobooks be considered reading? Yes, they should. And for those of you who feel the same or don't feel the same, there's a podcast episode that details all that information. So have a listen to that one as well. Back to the challenge. So yeah, finding those moments. You don't have to, honestly, you don't have to sit for an entire 30 minutes and read it all. If you want, break it up into chunks. Say read 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night, or 15 minutes when you're going for your walk, or 15 minutes whenever. Do that. Just break it up throughout the day. And what I've found is that if anything, it makes me want to read more, because then I have to stop at a certain point and it's like, oh no, hey, what's going to happen? Then I'm more willing to pick it up again too. So yeah, that is this weekday's challenge. Again, weekday challenge, read more. So if you're already reading 30 minutes, add 15 minutes onto whatever average you're reading. And if you haven't started reading at 30 minutes, I challenge you this week to read 30 minutes a day, every day. In the car. And on that note, I thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Tanisha's Reading Corner podcast. Thank you for coming back. And this season, we're going to dive more into some into audiobooks, but also into biographies, autobiographies this season. Also, we're talking more about tips and tricks, as always, keeping reading a daily habit. So stay tuned on Mondays for the weekly book challenge, and then on Wednesdays for your Deep and Dive podcast episode. So again, thank you. Please, if you love this episode, share with family and friends. Please rate wherever you get your podcast, on Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever your podcast. And I'll follow at Tanisha'sReadingCorner.com, which is the website, and also on Instagram at Tanisha'sReadingCorner. Reading Corner. And wishing you all good wellness and good reading. Have a good day.